I'm going to kick off because because we're on a schedule here, right? Okay. Should I do that, Jory? Okay. Thank you so much for your kind words, also in the intro remarks about my talk last year. I hope this talk is as good. I don't know, as inspiring. So I'm here to tell people about, I'm here to talk to you all about privacy, security, and authenticity. It's a bit of a survey or a speed run through some of the things that I'm working on and that I care about. And a lot of it is projects that you may have heard of. And hopefully I'm going to create some connections in your mind between some of these projects and give you some information that you haven't had before. So first of all, also, this talk is Star Trek themed. How many Star Trek fans in the audience? All right, okay, thank you. So, what I like about this imagery that I've chosen for this talk is, if you go back to Star Trek, the original series, the 1960s kind of like vision of the future. It's a little bit more utopian, a little bit more thinking about a place where we've worked out our problems, and I would like us to focus more on that. So, like, how can we channel some of that energy from 1960s retro utopian kind of mindset about the future? Anyway, the future isn't what it used to be, but maybe we can work together to make it more like that. So who am I? I'm Dan Appelquist. I work for Samsung Open Source Group, which is kind of like an OSPO within Samsung. I've worked for UK government digital services. I've worked for Vodafone. I've worked for Telefonica. I've also been a .com CTO, so I've done all this kind of stuff. I have been co-chair of the W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium Technical Architecture Group, for the past 12 years. That's a role that I'm about to end because I've just been elected to the W3C Advisory Board, which is another elected group within the W3C, and you can't be on both the TAG and the AB. So I'm about, at the end of the month, I'm about to move over into the AB world and do more governance side of things. I'm also co-chair of the OpenSSF Global Cybersecurity Policy Working Group. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I helped to develop the UK government open standards principles. Search for that because those open standards principles very much align with, I think, the vision of open standards that Jory was talking about earlier. And I'm also a UK and US dual national living in London. So the web is big. How big is the web, and why am I talking about the web in a Linux Foundation conference anyway? But I think that will become clear. But it was interesting to me to hear about all of the, even in Jim Zemlin's keynote yesterday, there were a lot of different strands that talked about the web. I kept hearing about the web. So we are, the web is definitely relevant to this crowd. But the web is bigger than you think. The web is also bigger than you can think. It's the biggest platform that we have in the world. People use the web for everything, including very personal tasks, very personal things. They use it for healthcare, government services, financial services, personal safety. Marginalized communities use the web, social media, obviously, NGOs, haircuts, whatever, from big to small. I say haircut because I use my barbershop website as a very good example of small web and how I want to encourage small web as well as big web. But the web is therefore also an enormous attack surface. The web is open, it's multi-stakeholder, it's mobile. It is a mobile platform, by the way. The majority of use of the web is on mobile devices, right? So when we think about the web, we need to think about mobile devices first. And this is something that a lot of people miss. Transparent, it's open, developed through a transparent process. It's multi-browser, multi-OS, multi-device. It's open source. It's definitely linked to open source. Most web engines are open source, and also the entire web tool chain is open source. And it's very much linked to the kind of royalty-free ethos and the W3C royalty-free license in particular. And also, the web is a lot like, in the Star Trek, the original series episode Journey to Babel, they host the Federation, a different Federation species on, in a kind of UN-style way. And this is a kind of intro to what the Federation is. And I love this kind of idea of different species, different groups coming together. They're enemies, but maybe they're going to agree on something, and they're going to, plot a course together. That's what the web is like. The web is like the Federation. It's people coming together. It's agreement. The web is agreement, to also channel something that Jory said earlier. So I've been involved in the web for a long time, but the web was the World Wide Web Consortium, which is a place where a lot of web standards are built, is an international standards body that was set up by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in 1994, has a lot of member organizations. It has developed web standards like HTML. HTML is not actually wholly developed at W3C anymore. There's also the WhatWG, which is a splinter group of, and it's complicated. But in the technical architecture group, we have been responsible for the architecture of the web, and that means reviewing things, reviewing new technologies that have been proposed to be added to the web. And as part of that work, we developed something called the Ethical Web Principles. The Ethical Web Principles was published as a W3C statement in December of last year, and you can read more about Ethical Web Principles at that URL. But one of the key phrases from this Ethical Web Principles that I want to pull out is that we need to put internationally recognized human rights at the core of the web platform. This Ethical Web Principles sets a bar for trying to encourage us to think about the social and societal impacts of what we do, and to link what we do to human rights, and to draw that linkage, because it might not be clear to some technologists why we need to talk about human rights at the same time that we're talking about standards. 3 of the key items on the Ethical Web Principles: the web enables privacy, the web is secure, the web allows you to verify information that you see. So I'm going to talk about these 3 things. So first of all, privacy. In the Star Trek, the original series episode, Mirror, Mirror, Kirk encounters on the evil Enterprise a device that allows him to see anybody, presumably, I don't know quite what the range is, and snuff them out from remotely, but also to spy on anybody. Obviously, a very dystopian tool. We do not want to enable creation of that. Anyway, this came to mind thinking about privacy. So, what do we say in the Ethical Web Principles about, or in the design principles that we have built for the web about securing people's privacy? The web is secure. The web respects people's privacy, right? When we add things to the web platform, we're making decisions that impact people's ability to control their personal data, and we need to keep that in mind when we're building new technologies and adding those to the web. So we built something, another document, which has recently been also published as a W3C standard. By the way, W3C standard, or W3C statement, a statement, quote unquote, is a document which has attained full kind of consensus of the W3C membership. So Ethical Web Principles, privacy principles, those have both been published as statements. Therefore, they have consensus of the W3C. That's an enormously powerful tool, because now we can say, okay, well, this is how we need to do things in W3C. This is how we keep our house in order. Privacy principles are a number of principles that are aimed at site designers, at web API developers, and at user agent developers. Some of the highlights are transparency, the web's purpose specification, for personal information, for instance, and data minimization. This is one of my key topics. Like, the web should not collect, or should collect and retain only the personal information that is necessary for the intended purpose. We shouldn't see overreach on the web and overreach on web APIs, because that's just that's dangerous. Systems that allow for communicating on the web must provide an effective capacity to report abuse. That doesn't sound like it's privacy, but actually it's extremely related to privacy, and it's one of the privacy principles that we have. When accessing personal data or requesting permission, sites and other actors should tell the purpose for which the data will be used, right? So a very good example of this not happening is when you go to a website and it just automatically asks you for your location or asks you for notification permission without even telling you why it wants that permission. And by the way, Google's own research shows that explaining why you're asking for permission does increase people's tendency to actually agree to that permission. So it's a very good idea. It's not just the best, it's not just the right thing to do, it's also the best thing to do if you from that perspective. Information about privacy practices should be provided in an easily accessible language and machine readable form. So that means, you know, no big impenetrable privacy or privacy principles or privacy terms of service. Make things clear to users about how you're going to use their data, et cetera. Websites should send notifications only for information that users have specifically requested. These are basic things, and they're also aligned with regulatory. So when we're looking at European e-privacy regulation, lots of key topics that hit exactly the same points. Consent for cookies and tracking, respect for user preferences, confidentiality of communication, direct marketing restrictions, informing the users about location data and user tracking. Okay, let's switch tracks and talk about security. In the Star Trek, the original series episode, The Ultimate Computer, this M5 computer, which was an AI that they hooked up to the Enterprise to basically be a self-drive, right? Decided that it needed more power so that it could start, you know, I forget, like phasering other starships and stuff like that. So it reached out across the engine room to get power from the engine. And what you're not seeing is that this puff of smoke, that used to be a crewman right there. So that was a red shirt. That was the red shirt that was gotten rid of in that episode. It just illustrates to me how, you know, we need to implement security in our systems. I don't know. It's a good visual, right? So security is important. And security has real world implications, by the way. So cybersecurity can have real world implications for people's health and well-being. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about my dishwasher for a second, okay? So I bought this new dishwasher last year, and around November of last year, you can see from the dates, I got this great series of notifications on my phone. But this is my first connected appliance, right? So I got a connected appliance, and I thought, oh, great, I'm going to hook this up. It's connected to the internet. So I got this set of notifications on my phone. Oh, an urgent update has been, reading from the bottom, a software update is being downloaded at the moment. For security of your home appliance, this critical software update is being applied. Boom, an urgent update has been installed on your home appliance. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is exactly what I want connected appliances to do. I want them to take care of security issues for me. And by the way, this is exactly what the CRA, the Cyber Resilience Act, specifies in terms of how connected devices, how all kinds of systems that are marketed in Europe need to operate. They need to be secure by design. They need to have mandatory security requirements. Regular updates and patches need to be installed automatically. Penalties for non-compliance, vulnerability reporting. A lot of this kind of stuff is exactly what we're working on in the Global Cybersecurity Policy Working Group, and this is a bit of a plug for them. We're having an open meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, in this very venue at 14:30 That's 2:30 p.m. in room 710, or you can come to the OpenSSF booth and you can find a sticker with this amazing new logo that we had made, which is the crawfish, the CRA fish. See what we did there? Yeah, okay, right? With the OSS shield and the EU t-shirt. Anyway, how does this apply to the web and what I'm talking about? Well, a couple of years ago, we ran a workshop called Secure the Web Forward, where we tried to take some of the expertise from the supply chain security, from the OpenSSF side of things, and bring them together with the web security folks that are mostly talking about new APIs, security features, JavaScript features that help to enable better security on the web. And we came up with I've included the link to the full report here, but we came up with some really good outcomes, which are, first of all, web developers are confused about security, and we really need to help them understand their role in the whole security story. And secondly, we need to talk more. We need more interaction between the security community and the web developer community, because web developers don't know and don't understand the role that they need to play. So we have a design principle in the web that the web must be safe. It must be safe to visit a web page. That's because you could find yourself phished and on downloading code from a malicious actor at any time, right? So it must be the case that that code cannot do something malicious, cannot install malware onto your device, cannot start phishing around on your device for your personal data. There's also danger of visiting a trusted website. You could be going to New York Times or BBC or your most trusted news source, and because third-party content advertisements are being loaded in iframes, you're interacting with third-party content that the website that you're dealing with doesn't even know is there. So there's also a danger of visiting trusted websites, and those are some of the factors that are different in the web from how we think about security. So what we did last year is we created something called SWAG, which is the Secure Web Application Guidelines Community Group in W3C, and we're focusing on improving web security by building best practices. Our primary audience is web developers, product owners, open source maintainers. We have a number of members, and let's see. We're working in tandem with the OpenSSF Best Practices Working Group. So this is kind of like W3C group that is working and reporting back to OpenSSF Best Practices. We have developed security best practices for web developers draft. And this is mostly about how to use W3C standards, how to use the specifications that are standardized already. So examples are how to use CSP, how to use fetch metadata, how to limit the use of third-party scripts. If you're interested, you can get involved here. Here are some URLs. And by the way, I'm doing a full talk on SWAG on the OpenSSF Day on Thursday. How am I doing on time? Okay. Authenticity, right? I won't talk about which episode this is, but you can see in this screenshot we've got evil Kirk and good Kirk. How do you tell the difference between them? Certainly an extreme conundrum. Well, Mr. Spock was able to do it, but he's Spock, right? So, so we have this issue all the time on the web now with authenticity of data. One of the things that we talk about in the ethical web principles is it must be possible to verify information that you see. So what is the threat? We've got misinformation, we've got disinformation, we've got deepfakes, AI-generated images. I mean, if you heard Jim's talk on yesterday, he talked about C2PA. You can tell what I'm going to talk about. Well, there's lots of examples of disinformation like this. I won't even go into why this is obviously a fake. But the URL at the bottom provides more context. BBC is doing some good work, by the way, on BBC Verify on debunking fake images like this. So it matters because reputation, expertise, reputable sources, there's manipulation. We need to have consensus on what is real in order to have a functioning society. And that comes back to the human rights issue. So C2PA is around, and I've been participating in it for about a year's time. I'm super excited about this work. And we've actually started to see it in the wild. So this is a screen grab that I took on LinkedIn, where there was this image of Jeff Bezos and Sundar having cake together, and obviously it was AI generated. Anyway, the C2PA metadata credentials were embedded from ChatGPT, and when the image popped up, I could see the content credentials bug up there. I tapped on it, and it came up and said, "Oh, this is generated by ChatGPT." So we're already seeing this in the wild. I think it's incredibly exciting, and Samsung also launched earlier this year with the S25. Content credentials are built into certain parts of the Samsung stack, and we're going to be building in more in the future. So, and like I said, BBC are also involved, which gives this effort a lot of credibility, in my view. It's not blockchain, it's not cryptocurrency. So the news you can use is that we just launched C2PA spec version 2.2. We also launched the conformance program, which you can become involved in. And I think that's about it from me. I say bring it. Let's build this future together where we're going to have more utopian vision of our future and less dystopia. So thank you.